All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Church Dropout podcast. My name is Alan. I'm the host. Church Dropout is a podcast. We talk about issues, topics, and teachings related to faith, life, and culture in ways that are sometimes funny, sometimes serious, but always insightful. If you have not already, please like, rate, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast at. I wanted to jump on real quick and talk about something that I saw online the other day concerning some comments that John MacArthur made at a Q&A session that he had. And I do want to play the comments beforehand, but as you've seen in the thumbnail, has to do with him denying the existence of certain conditions and making some comments that I believe are unwise, unhelpful, horrible, insensitive. It's problematic to me. So I want to talk a little bit about the comments that he made, share my thoughts on this, and we'll go from there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to listen to what he had to say. So let me cue this up. All right, here we go.
There's no such thing as PTSD. There's no such thing as OCD. There's no such thing as ADHD. Those are noble lies. To basically give the excuse to, in the end of the day, to medicate people. And Big Pharma is in charge of a lot of that. If you understand, take PTSD, for example. What that really is grief. You are fighting a war, you lost your buddies, you have a certain amount of survival guilt because you made it back, they didn't. How do you deal with the grief? Grief is a real thing. But grief is part of life. And if you can't navigate grief, you can't live life. But if you clinically define that, you can give them a pill, a series of medications, and they end up in LA homeless on the sidewalk. This is in regard to children, it's the most deadly thing that's been unleashed on children, medication. We're trying to make clear to parents that behavior is essentially the result of choices that kids make. And if you parent them properly, they'll make right choices. But if you blame it on something other than their choices, and you identify them as having something they can't do anything about, but medicate it, you literally are turning your child into a potential, not only a potential drug addict, but maybe a potential criminal, because they never learn how to navigate life in a socially acceptable way.
So there you have it. Those were the words from John MacArthur himself. They're all noble lies. PTSD, ADHD, OCD, none of these things exist. They're noble lies. And there's so much to say about this. One, just personally, as a father, a parent of a child who struggles, this is deeply offensive to me. That somehow, if I choose to medicate my child or resort to medication, that somehow I am contributing to making my child a drug addict or helping my child to end up on the street. I think this is horrible, and it's offensive, and it's senseless for him to make this type of comment, and for the people around him to be okay with that, and then to make the comment that you've made toward individuals who have PTSD, to say that it's just grieving, and you just need to learn how to properly grieve, which doesn't even cover the expanse of what PTSD is. Again, I think this is unwise. It's uncalled for. These comments, this is deplorable. And the fact that they posted this and they think that this is okay to post tells us a lot of what they think of John MacArthur and also what they think of people. Now, besides that, just a couple things. One, hey, listen, well, let me say this. What John MacArthur is doing, in my opinion, here is making this, he's talking political. He's not talking theological. Big pharma, I get it. They want to medicate, all of that type stuff, but he's talking politics, not theology. That's what's driving this understanding. This is what's driving his conclusion is a political idea. And this is the problem to me with evangelicalism today, is that we don't think of politics in terms of theology. We line our theology up with our politics. And this is him expressing that. This is a political issue that honestly is going to come up with elections and different things of that sort. And I think, honestly, that's what he's doing. He's persuading thought when it comes to politics. However, there's some other things that I want to mention here as it relates to this. This to me is a sign of the issue that we have with megachurch and megachurch pastors. John MacArthur is clearly out of touch with the people that he pastors. To make this type of comment without even thinking about what this might mean for those that you pastor, that you lead, the parents that listen to your messages each week, the parents who are struggling in the home with children, the men and women who are suffering with PTSD or OCD or ADHD, those individuals who have been diagnosed with that and who are now taking medication, who you've just told is a trick and that they shouldn't engage it that way, who now are probably going to put themselves in danger by not taking their medication because of your poor choice of words. And this, again, it's horrible. This is somebody who's deeply out of touch with people. This is the problem with celebrity and megachurch culture. This is the problem with big evangelicalism, big Eva. This is the problem with us elevating voices and believing that people need to be platformed because of who they are or what we feel like they've accomplished inside of Christendom. And this is a problem. And the fact that, again, this is okay and people don't see this as a huge issue and don't see this as a problem, and why John MacArthur should be publicly rebuked for this, and that maybe he needs to be set down, is an issue. Now, I'm not going to age shame John MacArthur. I'm not going to say, what they're going to say is he's older and, these things just kind of tend to slip out and all. Well, then you guys should be setting him down. Then he should not be preaching or teaching at that particular point, right? And so anyway, it's just deplorable. So he's completely out of touch with people that he pastors. This is an idea that he's thinking about, not in the context of those whom he's walking with. And then to say something like this, to put people in a place where now they're rethinking the medical attention that they've gotten. And now, again, some people won't take their medication simply because of the words that John MacArthur has said, can cause danger to them and their family. Like I said, it's an unwise word that I think needs to be checked. Think about what he's telling mothers. Think about what he's telling parents. Again, that they're contributing to, their children being a drug addict if they choose to medicate their children, and that everything is reduced down to helping children to make right choices. Again, this is just ignorance, that there are other things in a fallen world that affect people that are outside of just being able to make choices. And it's insensitive and it's uneducated and ill-advised. And again, I would call for them to make John MacArthur, or I don't want to say make, to have John MacArthur, restate what he has stated if he believes that what he has stated is incorrect. If not, then whatever. But if he doesn't feel like it is, then I think that we should probably stop listening to John MacArthur and I've already done that, and I don't say that, lightly. To be honest with you, I don't generally tell folks what they ought to do, but I think this is dangerous. No matter how good of a theologian a person is, if they lack compassion and love with their theology, and they're not taking into consideration the full thought, and they're saying things without restraint and wisdom, that's a problem. I don't have a desire to trust any of the other words that you are speaking. And so to me, this is an issue. And I felt like something needed to be said, especially as a person who parents a child who has some disabilities, and as a person who himself has some mental struggles, and just as a person who has had countless interactions with people who have had to navigate this and work through this and wrestle with taking medication or whether or not to take medication, and for somebody to just nonchalantly say that having a reductionist mindset, that this is simply grieving and or not teaching children how to behave, for him to reduce it to that is, again, it's a problem. And I think it should be taken offensively. And it is, taken offensively by many. And it's taken offensive. I've taken offense to it personally. And it's a shame. It's not biblical. It's not theological. It's not Christian. This is the opinion of a man who really, honestly, is beginning to feel himself a bit too much. And he's making comments that exceed, I believe, his range of authority as a pastor. He's not a clinician. He's not a doctor. He doesn't carry any of those titles. And just because you're a pastor doesn't mean that you can speak into all of these specific areas. And so anyway, those are my words. I know it was a bit all over the place, but just wanted to just share my raw feelings about this here. I would love to hear what you think about this. Please like, rate, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast at. As always, drop a comment below. Keep the conversation moving forward. And we'll talk soon. God bless. We out.